Committee will come to order. Kind of like the first day of school. I'm happy to see you all and anxious to hear what you did all summer. Good morning. Welcome to the first meeting of the Committee on Appropriations for the 119th Congress. The business today is to consider committee rules and subcommittee jurisdictions. Before we move to business, I want to welcome all of you here. I really do hope you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work. We have a lot of work to do, obviously finishing out 25, which we intend to do. Looking forward to working with my friend, the ranking member, on that. And I'm confident we can do that. I'm confident we can get the bills out of this committee as we did last year in time to be considered individually on the floor. Returning members will notice something different about the committee hearing room. Behind me, you'll see that new portraits grace our walls, that of our immediate past chair, Kay Granger, who joins her close friend and predecessor chairwoman, Nita Lowy. That's a pretty dazzling display up there. And a lot of us had the opportunity of serving with both these amazing, amazing women and leaders on this committee, and I'm really honored to have them looking over my shoulders. It's kind of like my mother and my grandmother or something, but they were pretty intimidating women too. We begin our agenda for the 119th Congress. We have both the example of these two women, both of whom defined what it means to be an appropriator. It's extraordinary. Unfortunately, we begin this Congress with some tasks from the previous Congress left unfinished. Though the committee reported out all fiscal year 2025 bills on time and passed 5 of those bills, representing 70% of all appropriations across the House floor, Congress has yet to reach an agreement on final full-year spending bills for fiscal year 2025. And before we proceed to fiscal year 2026, we have to finish that business. Frankly, I'm very confident that we can do that. I've got obviously a terrific working partner and the ranking member, and we've got terrific counterparts in the United States Senate, and we're working through where we need to go, and I would expect in short order we will have something so at the subcommittee levels you guys will have numbers to work with, and you'll be going to work on that pretty quickly. The Appropriations Committee prides itself, as current returning members know, on a longstanding commitment to orderly and respectful debate. We've got a strong tradition of working together and seeking consensus where we can. I'm committed to fulfilling that tradition as your chair. Looking forward, I'm proud to say it's a new day in America. The American people have mandated strong governance, and we will deliver on that duty. We will continue to be responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars, as we have historically been, and we will continue to ensure that every taxpayer dollar has a job and is used wisely and judiciously where it can do the most good for our great nation. And we will continue our practice of conducting robust bipartisan oversight of the agencies and departments that we fund. Indeed, it's my expectation that our subcommittees will quickly begin holding hearings. We don't want you waiting around on finishing 25 before you start your hearings for 26. And I've certainly had the opportunity to talk to all the subcommittee chairmen about that. So expect that work to begin immediately. Of course, none of us can do this job alone, and I'll need the help and cooperation from each of you, and I thank you in advance for that help. In particular, let me recognize my good friend, Mario Diaz-Balart, who will serve as the committee vice chair. Where's Mario? You should give him applause, you know. You all know Mario. Honestly, who doesn't know Mario in the Congress of the United States? And you all know he'll be one of the true leaders of this committee. Dynamic communicator with his hands as well as his voice. Strong voice on policy and a person who guides us all by example. Truly an appropriator's appropriator. I could think of no better person to serve in that job. I also want to recognize the majority's representatives to the Budget Committee. It's always extraordinarily important. It's going to be even more important because we'll undoubtedly be dealing with reconciliation this year. And we have a lot of interest on that committee because I love the Budget Committee. I served on it for 8 years, but a lot of its members think they're appropriators. And so it's very important that our people on both sides of the aisle remind them that they are not the Appropriations Committee. So Representative Ben Klein, who was there last time, Ben, we're right here. Why don't you guys stand up, just so, particularly we have a lot of new members on both sides. Representative Andrew Clyde and Representative Chuck Edwards. So these are ours, and I know at the appropriate time, Rosa will be recognizing her members. Your service as representative of the committee will be, again, more important this year than ever. Although we're not directly involved in reconciliation, we have great interest and equities there, and I'm hopeful, and we've had meetings about this, you'll be defending those and advancing those. So I wish all of you luck, and I appreciate your service. There's a lot of extra service on that budget committee because they meet, and you're doing 2 full committees effectively. Let me know, and let me now take a minute to recognize our ranking member, my very good friend, Representative DeLauro. And I'm supposed to have got this long script. I mean, come on. Rose and I have had the great good fortune to work together really closely for over a decade. We respectively chaired and were ranker at different points for 8 years on Labor H. She's a valued friend. Yeah, I don't have to tell anybody here what a force of nature she is. I feel extraordinarily lucky to have her. I know we've negotiated a lot of things together over the years, nothing quite this big, but she's done that before. In fact, I take some pride in the quote, top 4, or the big 4. Every one of them has been chairman of the Appropriations Committee at one point or another. I don't know that we've ever had a situation quite like that in the past, but I know I couldn't have a better person to work with, and my friend, I look forward to the experience going ahead.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I know it's the first day of school, and I want to make sure that everybody has a pencil box and you know what they need in terms of school supplies here. But Mr. Chairman, as you spoke about the beautiful portraits, and they must have had a memo, even though it was over the years, in terms of the royal blue here. But I think it's worth noting that we've come a long way, baby, excuse me. I mean, it was 1967 that the only 2 women who chaired and were ranking members of a committee was on the House Select Committee on the Beauty Shop. So, as I said, we have come a very long way in terms of women in this body. And I just want to congratulate the chair on leading the first full committee organizing meeting as chair of Appropriations. And I just, what's our phrase here? Associate myself with the chair's words. We've had I was just regarded as a storied history on this committee together, and it really has been a wonderful working relationship. We don't hide our differences. We stand for what the values that we hold. We know why we're here to serve, and I say that of the chairman, and making this process work and doing what's needed for in the best interests of this nation. And we're going to build on that tradition, and it has been a tradition of honesty, of transparency, and of deep friendship. And I'm so delighted to be able to continue that effort. Before we organize for this Congress, let me just, I want to speak to the work that's ahead of us. The current continuing resolution expires in 50 days. That leaves us with precious little time to finish the 2025 bills. None of us in this room benefits from another short-term continuing resolution. Governing by continuing resolution is bad for taxpayers, for the Congress, for the administration. So we know that it's time for us to really get to work. I know that Chairman Cole shares that sentiment. And I hope that we are successful in negotiating, in writing, and enacting full-year spending bills prior to the March 14th deadline. I think that's an imperative for us, that we have to do that. Additionally, this committee must work together across the aisle and across the dais to protect and to preserve our constitutional prerogatives. Article 1 of the Constitution is explicit. Congress holds the power of the purse. The decisions about the investments we make cannot be entrusted in or controlled by one single office holder. Government spending decisions must be the result of broad compromise among the people's representatives for good reasons. Our positions on this committee and in this body are temporary. We are but stewards of our system of government. And that stewardship requires preserving the separation of powers and co-equal branches of government as designed by the framers of the Constitution. This all holds true regardless of the occupant of the White House. When President Biden was in office, I worked to uphold and defend our power of the purse, this committee's power of the purse, even when that meant going against a Democratic president. I will continue to fight for the faithful execution of appropriated funds, and it is my hope that all of us on this committee will be willing to do the same. Moving to the organizing portion of the meeting, I would like to make some announcements on the membership of the Democratic side of the committee. Aside from Minority Whip Catherine Clark continuing a leave of absence in her leadership role, I am happy that we will be joined by all Democratic members of the committee who served last year and who have returned to the 119th Congress. I would like to welcome back Jim Clyburn, South Carolina. Where are you, Mr. Clyburn? Right there. All right, right there, Mr. Clyburn. You've been on a leave of absence while serving in the Democratic leadership. I would also like to take this opportunity to formally welcome 6 new Democratic members, and I'll ask you to stand. Mike Levin of California, Madeleine Dean, Pennsylvania, Veronica Escobar, Texas, Frank Mervan, Indiana, Marie Glusenkamp Perez of Washington, and Glenn Ivey of Maryland. To them and our new Republican members, Mark Alford, my traveling buddy, Nick LaLota, Mark is from Missouri, Nick LaLota from New York. Nick, where are you? Right there, okay. Well, I'm going to recognize them too, Mr. Chairman. You know, Dale Strong, who's going to be my partner on the Aviation Caucus, Celeste Malloy, Utah, Riley Moore, West Virginia. Welcome. I just to say this flat out, to the best committee, but the most important and critical committee in the Congress. The Appropriations Committee is the center of this government. If we do not come together, Democrats, Republicans, House and Senate, and pass bills, we cannot get them to the president for a signature. And the result of that is a government shutdown, which none of us want to see happen. So that's the central position of this committee, and no other committee is that true. I'm pleased to say that Joe Morelli, New York 25, was elected to serve as vice-ranking member of the committee with a distinguished background and a contributor of our efforts. Our members in the top ranking members of the Democratic slots of each of the subcommittee will largely be the same as the last Congress, with the following exceptions: Grace Meng of New York on Commerce, Justice, Science, Lois Frankel on State Foreign Operations, Jim Clyburn on Transportation and Housing and Urban Development. Our Democratic designees to the Budget Committee are Bonnie Watson-Coleman of New Jersey, Bonnie, and Veronica Escobar of Texas. When looking at the full roster of my side of the aisle, the Democrats on our committee, no greater group of people that embodies both the intellectual heft of the caucus and the shared commitment to doing good work for our nation by lowering costs for hardworking American families. In closing, I want to say that it is my greatest honor to continue to work with you, Mr. Chairman, as we move forward, to continue to work with all of you on behalf of the American people as the ranking member of this committee. Thank you so much, Chairman Cole, and I yield back.
Now you all know what negotiating with Rosa DeLauro is like. I never get in the last word. You got in about 5 pages ahead of where I had this, but anyway, I actually am supposed to recognize the members on the majority side, so I'd like to recognize the new members. Would each of you stand when I call your name? Mark Alford from Missouri, stand and be recognized. Nick LaLota from New York. Dale Strong from Alabama. Celeste Malloy from Utah. And Riley Moore from West Virginia. Riley gets the brass ring. He's the only real freshman on this committee. But when you've been a state legislator and a state treasurer, I think you get to start a little earlier around here. Finally, let me introduce some key members of the staff who will be a resource to all of us. My dear friend and our chief clerk and staff director, Susan Ross. Stand up, Susan. Adam Sullivan, our deputy staff director and defense clerk. Okay. Catherine Salmon, our chief deputy staff director and labor H clerk. I was going to recognize my friend Josh Grogas, senior advisor to me and my former chief staff, but he's ill, and he didn't want to get anybody sick, so he's not here today. Mark, is he? So you are going to get people sick. Okay, I thought you weren't going to make it. Marcus Towns, our director of member services. Matt Diller, our general counsel and parliamentarian. Alexia Sikora, our chief of communications. Okay, these are all here to help us get the job done, and I encourage all members to reach out with them with any questions you have. Now there's one last housekeeping item we have. Returning members will know it well, the Flower Fund appointments. These are really serious responsibilities. For our new members, the Flower Fund exists to provide flowers or fruit baskets to our colleagues on the committee during their moments of joy and sorrow, celebrate the birth of a child or a grandchild, or to express sympathy on the death of a loved one. As in years past, the contribution this year, because of Republican frugality, will remain at $20. We're not interested in checks or credit card, cash only. Co-chairman of the majority will be our most junior member. So you now, on your very first day, are a co-chairman. And you start collecting the money immediately. Here's your first 20. Yeah. All right. I'm going to let him go about his work. So please provide your contributions now or earlier. I was going to now recognize Ranking Member Delora, but we'll proceed. Are there any other members at this time who wish to make an opening statement? Good. Very good. We'll now turn to the business of the day. Shh. Our first order of business is to consider the committee rules for the 119th Congress. The proposed rules were circulated to your offices this past Friday. With one exception, there are no substantive changes from the 118th Congress. Our one substantive change has been to the committee rule 2E to clarify that the chair and ranking member of the full committee who may sit, participate, and vote in our subcommittees also count for purposes of establishing a quorum for the subcommittee. This will bring the Appropriations Subcommittee in line with other accepted practices on other House committees with similar provisions. I don't think there's going to be any objection to that. Are there any members? Anything else? Okay. Now recognize the ranking member Delora for any comments she may make on the rules.
Mr. Chairman, I have no objection.
Okay. Any other members wish to comment on committee rules? Seeing none. Any members have any amendments to the proposed committee rules? Seeing none. I now recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Hal Rogers, for a motion to approve the committee rules.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the committee rules for the 119th Congress.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion's agreed to. The order of business now is consideration of subcommittee jurisdictions. These jurisdictions are the same as the last Congress. However, we do have one change. The State Foreign Operations and Related Committee or Related Programs Subcommittee will be renamed the National Security, Department of State, and Related Programs Subcommittee to better reflect the work of the subcommittee performs. There's no change to the subcommittee's jurisdiction, nor any other relevant change to the subcommittee rules. We have consulted with the minority and believe they are in agreement with these changes. I now recognize the ranking member for any comments she cares to make. I love the way this is moving. Any other committees or members wish to make comments on the proposed subcommittee jurisdictions? And do any other any members have amendments to the proposed subcommittee jurisdictions? Now recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Hal Rogers, for the motion to approve the subcommittee jurisdiction.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the subcommittee jurisdictions for the 119th Congress.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion's agreed to. Lastly, I'll note that the subcommittee sizes and ratios have been agreed to by both sides, and the majority and minority have completed subcommittee assignments. I asked unanimous consent that the staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the items without objections. So ordered. In closing, I look forward to engaging with all of you to finish our work and fund the government in a responsible, timely way. I'd be remiss, it's pretty well known by the returning members of the committee, I like cigars. I have a wonderful place that probably sometime down the road, Rosa will have to fumigate, but anybody who likes cigars is always welcome there, no matter the party. And usually there's an open bar as well. So
Not the bourbon.
we're not in short supply. You can come by. If you have a preference, let us know early, but we'll try and take care of you. If there's no further business, committee stands adjourned.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Rosa?